evening and welcome to our session on BE. And my name is Nongu Hlongo. I'll be the facilitator for the event today. With me on the session is Mr. Sean Leke, which we're very happy to have, and we're able to get his expertise to come assist us with this session today. And we also have our chairperson, Tatem Sebetsi Dladla, who I will ask shortly to give a few words and introduce himself to those who don't know him. But yes, welcome to our session. And Tatem Sebetsi, anything to add before I introduce the session? I think you're still muted. Sorry, sir.
Thank you.
Chairperson, are you still with us? Okay, let me go straight through to introducing the session and to say why we decided to hold the session. So the session this evening is about broad-based economic empowerment, which most of us shorten to BE. This is a government policy to advance economic transformation and enhance the economic participation of Black people in the South African economy. The Black people in the legislation is described as African, colored, and Indian people who are South African citizens. The purpose of BE is to bridge the gap between formal and substantive equality to ensure that all people in South Africa fully enjoy the right to equality. So thank you for joining us as you unpack the fundamentals of this policy. So Mr. Sean will be helping us with the basics and the fundamentals, so we have a deeper understanding as to why the policy was started, with the history of it and its intentions. I will try again to make sure that our chairperson says a few words. Chairperson, are you ready? Still no sound? There you go. Sorry, Chair, we have no sound still. It came and went. Sorry about that. Perhaps it could be bandwidth. Also on the line to help us support is our provincial coordinator, Ms. Mamela Ratswane. She's with us, and those who've engaged with her. She's also on the line as support here and also to join us here. Okay, Chairperson just asked us to continue and he will have a few words at a later stage. I'll introduce our speaker for this evening, and Dr. Sean Leke, which we're very happy to have. He's an expert in management consulting, and he's been in the field for about 33 years in financial spheres and 11 years in triple BE. He is a management consultant, and the consultancy, what he offers as services is cutting edge services for the maximum benefit of small, medium, and large business enterprises registered across various sectors of the economy. Tonight, he will be speaking on us on triple BE, and on that subject, he also helps as an advisor and assists with verification preparation. This involves providing advisory services and preparation of triple BE verification for companies. He also helps with the prevention of triple BE fronting through authentication and verification of triple BE information and data to ensure that there's a correct use of this. He also does an implication analysis service across various sector codes, and he ensures compliance therein. This involves the helping of corporate clients to understand and appreciate the various triple BE industry sector codes. We will know more this evening on what sectors are there and why are there sector codes in triple BE. So he helps you with analyzing and applying the various policies, legislation, and framework to every business sector, and provides an analysis and an implication report for his clients. He also does something that's very clear, very dear to my heart, which is ensuring that communities benefit from triple BE and understand and ensure the broad-based approach for it does take place, and he does this through social engagements, mostly in construction and mining companies, to ensure that there's acceptable allocation of local interests in various projects where the communities are. So this helps that the communities are participating in projects that are happening in their areas, in areas such as employment and procurement. He also assists the mining sector with creating social labor plans and community investment initiatives. He also offers legal consulting, audit, forensic investigation, and reporting on transactions. I will share his contact details again as we carry on, but his email address is Sean, SEAN, at BEE-right, so BEE-right.co.za, and he's also available on LinkedIn. Mr. Sean, thank you for joining us this evening, and these are BMF members online. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I trust you've all had a good day, and I'm looking forward to this session. And from my side, I'll be taking you back to the beginning. Now, I don't know how many of you love your music, but I'm part of the old school guys. So BE at the moment is like taking you back to the beginning. So tonight we're going to concentrate on the principles, and it's going to be interactive. We will handle a certain point and then we will allow for questions. But we're going to concentrate on the principles and the concepts under BE. So what I'd like you to do is to, I know that let's say you wear the hat of all the knowledge you've gained from BE over the years. But I'm going to ask you just to put that aside and keep an open mind as we run through this program. So I'm going to put in a small disclaimer. I will present you with facts as per the BBB legislation. However, my opinion provided might not be exactly the way government intended. You have the right to object or question any statement made. I love doing BE, but if I sound like a government representative, that's good. But do not quote me on that one. Definitions are a solution to understanding BBE, and the basis for that is found under GG 42496, the 31st of May 2019. So just as a short introduction, I trust you're going to enjoy tonight. I'm going to try and make it as interesting as possible. So I think for this now, I must maybe just get a hi or a hello and just get a response from the participants.
Thank you, Sean.
Hi. Okay, I've got a few. All right, let's
Sean, before you start, let me just also indicate that Sean will be going through some documents in BE. If you want me to share those with you, Mamelo is available to email those through to you. Please put your email address on the chat box and she'll be able to share documents with you. All right. Thank you, Sean. Over to you.
Okay, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put my screen off. And that's just going to make it better for me. I know sometimes there's interference and all those kinds of stuff. So we will chat if we need to, Nonku, and I'll say to you what to open up. Give me a second there. All right. Okay. Nonku, can we go to that first page on the Excel sheet, which deals with voting rights?
Thank you. Which page number? Should I go all the way to the top, sir?
Yeah, all the way to the top.
Okay. Should I enlarge or is it sufficient for you?
I think you should enlarge, yeah.
Okay. You let me know when to stop.
Yes. Everyone on the chat, feel free to send a question or mention anything, because if you can't see anything, but I'm going to run through it not too fast, and I'll say to you what I'm busy with, just in case you're not seeing clearly or looking at something clearly. All right, let's jump into voting rights and economic interest. Now the concept we're handling here, or the scorecard we're working from, is the DTI scorecard. So we're going to handle a little bit later the different sector codes. So the DTI scorecard is the basis of where most of the charters and those sectors have decided what point scoring system they will use, but the DTI is your basis to work from. So for tonight's examples, we're going to be concentrating on the DTI charter. So it might not be your charter, but the system that they use and the concepts and principles are very similar. There's not much difference. So if we start with voting rights, which is acceptable, exercisable black voting rights, and then we've got a point for exercisable black women voting rights, and then under economic interest, I'm just going to handle the first two, which is economic interest black people and economic interest black women. So voting those two at a shareholders meeting, you must be in a position to vote with 25%. Now, when we speak about principles, this was a minimum principle that was brought in by government to get companies to start to comply. Now, why they chose 25% is that the Companies Act stipulates that in order for a special resolution to be approved, 75% is required for approval. So the black shareholder that owns 25% share, he has a say and cannot just be railroaded into approving a decision. And this is something the policy is trying to achieve here as a minimum. So this is why the BBB policy is set at not less than 25%. So the 75% would like to purchase, just as an example, the 75% shareholder would like to purchase a holiday home under the pretense of entertaining clients. The black shareholder is aware that he or she will not benefit. So this is one safety factor built into the policy for the empowerment through BBBE. This is just an example to illustrate the principle applied. So this is what makes the participation or the economic empowerment very, very important when it comes to owning that share. And this is where we really have to focus on when they say black voting rights, when we speak about economic interest, are you really getting that benefit? So the principle there is, if you are a fully fledged shareholder, you will have that value that you will be adding to the company. Now, what we're also going to look at is, because on the participant side, now I can't say you might not be a generic company, because this example that I'm using here is based on generic. So you might not yet be a generic, but as the BMF recording showed in the beginning, the whole idea of the BBBEE is to get us into a position where we eventually going to end up owning the economy and owning many businesses in different sectors. So then you will become a generic company. So this is why you might feel this is not for me today, but it's going to be good just to get that exposure. So what you also have to look at, if you are less than 50 million turnover and you fall in a category which is an exempted micro enterprise, which is 0 to 10 million, or a qualifying small enterprise, which is between a turnover of 10 and 50 million. So the next statement I'm going to make also kind of puts you in this understanding that you need to have. So the Companies Act acknowledges that when you own 50% share of a company, that is regarded as controlling interest. The implication, the direction, policies, procedures must stem from the controlling interest holder. Now, coming back to our generic example, many companies struggle with how to grow the black shareholder in achieving this goal going forward. Because what a lot of people forget about BBBEE and the 25% minimum is that is not cast in stone. So the process of training or uplifting the partner that you have in the business is eventually that over a number of years, and let's say we use a period of 10 years as an example, then the expectation of BBBEE is, without putting the rule there, but what BBBEE actually wants us to achieve is to say that over this 10 years, that 25% shareholder must begin to grow into a 51% shareholder, and thereafter 100% shareholder. And this is actually what BBBEE is seeking to achieve. So I left the next point, which is economic interest, which black designated groups and ESOPs, broad-based schemes, and co-ops. So what the structure has done with the point scoring system for that 3 points, they've said we would like, so BBBEE policy says we would like, out of the 25% ownership, 3% must be allocated to someone in that black designated group, ESOP, or broad-based scheme or co-op. So now, Nonku, I just want you to go to page 4 and page 5 of GG 42496, 31 May 2019.
Okay, it's on the screen right now.
Okay, I've only got I'm seeing the Excel sheet at the moment.
Mamela, you're only seeing Excel?
We're only seeing the Excel, Menonku.
Okay.
There we go. All right, Nunku, I'll read out the first one and then we'll go to the other 3. So the definition of black designated group means A, unemployed black people not attending and not required by law to attend an educational institution and not awaiting admission to an educational institution. Then B, black people who are youth as defined in the National Youth Commission Act of 1996. And C, black people who are persons with disabilities as defined in the Code of Good Practice on Employment of People with Disabilities issued under the Employment Equity Act. Then we have black people living in rural and underdeveloped areas. And then lastly, we have black military veterans who qualifies to be called a military veteran in terms of the Military Veterans Act 18 of 2011. Thanks, Nonku. You can go back to the Excel sheet.
Thank you.
So what I want to mention here is that for everyone that is sending their email address through, they will receive this government gazette. Now, to enhance your understanding of BE and its terminology, it's very important to go through the definitions, because a lot of the time we have a situation where we're chatting amongst our peers and different business partners and in different environments. But when we actually study what these interpretations and what the meaning of certain concepts are, those are the ones that will make you understand BE better. Like in this case now, government has specifically highlighted 3%. So government is not turning the screws on, but all government was asking with BE legislation was, can you allow 3% where this group of people can form part of that building of the economy? And that for me is one of the big things that should just be punted more, is that inclusivity. So government wasn't trying to take something away from anybody. He's actually just trying to say that, listen, can we share the space and start to uplift as many people as possible through these transactions that are entered into. So that's the reasoning behind that black designated group, and it speaks about inclusivity. Right. Nonku, then we go to the next one, which is new entrant. Now this is also there was a few, or let's say there was something else in the past. I think they were looking at something like 10 million, and then I think through a lot of improvement over the years, government has now said they regard a new entrant as someone that doesn't possess, in terms of business value, more than 50 million. So in most of our businesses in South Africa, we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have too many people above 50 million, but we're glad if we have more than what we had in the past that are above 50 million, because that just says, those guys are going somewhere. So in terms of the points, so what I should say here now is when we come close to the end of ownership, is that if you're a white business or a foreign business, and you decide you're bringing in a BE partner at 25% because you're going to concentrate on the minimum, because you don't really want to give control away, and you're not happy with this situation, but you must do it, otherwise you won't get government business and all those kinds of things. So what happened was government, and I think a lot of people think, or they could blame government for a lot of things, but when it comes to BE, they decided, after they looked at the experience, then they said, no, wait a minute, let's change something here. So Nonku, go back to your Excel sheet.
It's on the screen, sir.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen. Okay. So the last one on the score sheet for ownership is classified as net equity value. Now, government says, go ahead with the 25%. Get your designated group. Get all that. So that was the previous scorecard. But now they have learned that a lot of transactions that is out there doesn't actually empower the 25% shareholder, because in many cases, when you step into a business that has a turnover of above 50 million, then such an entity will have quite a bit of value. So as you come in as a 25% shareholder, you will have a large debt if you cannot pay cash for your shares. So let's say you bought in and it cost you 2 million, and you had to go to the bank and you had to loan that funds to purchase that share, or you bought the share from the company, and they put a loan account there, and they said, listen, this is what we value it at, and you'll pay us off by dividends and those procedures. So what government has done is they said, I'm giving you 8 points for net equity value, but I want you to score 40% of that target, which equates to 3.2 points. But that's not easily achievable. So what I've done is net equity, the calculation itself, it can be quite an intricate calculation. So I'm going to give you the short version. Based on the value of the business today, if I were to sell my 25% share, would I be able to settle the debt owed and have some change? If the answer is yes, I will have some change. Then you can claim the full 8 points. If not, then on a decreasing basis, what pro rata points are eligible? This must then not be less than 3.2. So what government is saying here is that he's encouraging the 75% shareholder to work with the 25% shareholder in building value for the company, so that when he reaches his yearly BE scorecard and has to start preparing for it, then he will ensure that if the BE shareholder has, for argument's sake, made a 10-year deal, because that's what BE allows when you buy equity share to at least within 10 years. So what they say is each year you must basically pay off 10% of that loan amount. Now, if you take COVID and those things, it formed a little bit of a difficulty, but government is still saying, I'm giving you a 40% target of the 8 points. So that just encourages that they don't mess around with the 25% shareholder, because that was happening, I would almost want to say, for about 7 or 8 years of BE. A lot of 25% shareholders were actually, they were in the business with 25%, but if you ask them, listen, what's your dividends, how much return are you getting on your investment, then they wouldn't actually be able to say, I did receive, or I'm better off because I'm a partner in this business. So that is where government learned the lesson, and they put that one in there, because I think most of us are aware that if you're not a level 1 or level 2, then you don't really stand a chance of getting a tender. So this just makes it that much better, and that's why I say that the policy of BE actually just says we would like to have that relationship extended in that 75-25, but please add value to the participant or participants in that environment. So I think at this stage, if there are any questions, you're welcome to put that to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have now covered on ownership. Sean, on my side, I don't see questions on the chat box, but people can raise their hands and we can ask. I wanted to ask, what is, in your definition, then black owned? Because I see the number 25. Then what is black owned? Is it 50 plus 1, or is it the 25 if you get full points? And then I will look for questions, and please feel free to put your hand up.
Okay. Nonku, I'm just not sure about that. You're speaking about 50% or you're speaking about the 25%?
I'm asking, what is black owned then? What is a black owned?
Black owned is as you mentioned in the beginning, the definition of black under the BE, and remember now this is a BE definition, it speaks about African, Indian, and colored people. So if we say black owned, then any of African, Indian, or colored can form part of that ownership. But you must obviously be a South African resident or South African citizen, and on your share certificate, all those things must prove that you fall within African, Indian, or colored, and that will qualify you as black owned.
Okay. So it does not matter that you hold 25% or 50 or 60. From 25 upwards, you're a black owned company. Or
Correct.
am I getting it? Okay.
Yeah. Remember now, in this specific instance, your 25% is encapsulated in terms of a share. So if you have your own company and you're 100% black owned there, then it means in your company you have 100% share of that company. But in this instance now, where you have 25%, you are a shareholder, but you are a black shareholder in that company. It doesn't also stop. It doesn't also stop 2 different or 3 different persons coming together as African, Indian, or colored and having a business where they've got 33.33% between the 3 of them. They will be then classified as a BE controlled company. So that's a other definition that applies there. But in this example, we're only speaking about a share of 25%.
Okay, and understood.
Menonku?
Yes, Chairperson.
Oh, thank you again. I think I've solved my audio problems. Mr. Lakey, welcome once again.
Thank you, sir.
There are 2 critical aspects. The relation between voting rights and the Companies Act, as well as net equity value and the issue of the levels, to say where the net equity value does not meet the 40%, that company will drop a BE level.
Correct.
So it means if the company is not helping you to make sure that you declare dividends and you are able to pay off the loan, which happened in the first set, where guys own these shares for 20 years, companies could use a B certificate to say we are 30% black owned, but the black owner never really got anything, value out of it.
Correct.
That's the important part I think we need to highlight there on the net equity value.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much, Chair, for clarification. Is that your hand is still up? Is that all you wanted to add, Chair? Okay.
Yes, that's all.
Thank you. We don't have questions at this stage, Mr. Lakey, on ownership. I think you could continue.
All right. Now we'll move on to management control. Now here I'm just going to also add I hope you'll see I love BE, but not just BE. It's about exactly what the BMF has advertised on the beginning here, is how do we achieve an integrated use of the components of BE to assist us in achieving that. And this for me is actually this whole thing. I hope you'll see it as I see it, but the policies, they tie into each other. This is a very well worked, constructive BE scorecard, which was not just thumbs up. There was real effort that went into it. So what I want you to constantly do as participants is to see the link from ownership to management, to skills, to procurement, and to social economic development. None of these components can actually operate in a business environment without each other. So very importantly, we're now going through to management control, and we'll start off with board participation. So Nonku, have you got the share screen up on the Excel sheet?
Yes, I do. All
right, there we go. Now, highlighted right at the top there is board participation. So government is saying to us, he's giving 3 points to board participation. Now, in the ownership, He wanted you to declare what the economic interest was and what the voting rights were. Now that was produced through the share certificate that exists in that company. So that's that information. But what government is now saying under management control, and why is placing this board participation under management control? Because he's making a direct link between the shareholder and the executive management of that establishment. So the very first one is exercisable voting rights of Black board members and exercisable voting rights of Black women board members. So the reason why the 1 point is there for women board members and 2 points for the actual board members. Now, some boards can have 10, other boards can have 2, some will have 3. So not every company is the same. But the essence of what government is trying to achieve is, if you look at the 50% target under voting rights of Black board members. So all the government is saying is, out of this 75%, which means the controlled white company or foreigner that owns that most of that company, he is saying, when it comes to management of the business, in order for my Black participant or participants to get somewhere, if they have a greater say in the running of the company, then he is going to reward you with 2 points. But for us as BMF environment and in that sphere, we are wanting to be more participative in the processes of the company. So that is where that 50% comes in. So if you should argue from a white or a foreign point of view, then all the government is saying to you is, let's go 50-50 on this one. So it doesn't mean you're going to be outvoted by your Black counterpart. All government is saying, look at how you can share. So he's saying to you, if you reach the 50%, I'm willing to give you 2 points. Now, if you reach less than 50%, then I will give you pro rata points. All right. So another important factor is that government has in their program said that there must be women empowerment. And this is why he especially put a 1 point there to say that the target is 25%, which is half of the 50% target. But this is how are we going to get women involved in top management of businesses? So this is where that 25% comes in. Let me just check it quickly. Okay. Now, very importantly, I'm coming back to the Companies Act. Now, when it comes to the management control or the executive management, very important to note is that the articles and memorandum of association of a company play a very key role here. The shareholders agreement as well as the King report. So those are legal documents that need to be in place. Now, it doesn't mean if you have a share of 25%, you cannot have voting rights at the board level of 50%. Because that is how you change your articles and memorandum of association. So if you really want the Black partner to reach higher heights, then giving him a greater percentage than what he owns in terms of the running of the company, that begins to speak to positive transformation. And this is what government is seeking there. So the example I will use there is, if we have 2 shareholders with a 75-25, and the 25 is the Black, they agree each one will have a 50% voting right at the shareholder meeting. So that's how they will achieve it. And as I say, that's the main essence here. Okay. All right. So the next one we can move to, Nonku, is the executive management. If you can highlight that one.
Okay, I will.
Now I'm going to give you a few extra points here. A shareholder does not necessarily have to be in executive management. The BBBEE policy, however, expects the involvement of the shareholder at every possible level of the business. That said, a shareholder can nominate a representative to fulfill this role. This is legal, but if a white or foreigner is appointed in that role, points would be lost in this manner. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that one up is that sometimes you have someone that has 3 or 4 businesses, black owned, but doesn't have the time to spend in a specific business. And many a times, if you're a shareholder through a trust, then you have trustees who are then appointed in that trust. So if that trustee is now a representative on this board, and that trustee happens to be white, then automatically you will lose the point. So that's just something to take note of. Okay, so let's run through the 4 aspects as one grouping. And here I must say, just a note, some companies do not have other executive management. And this is just a difference that you must be aware of. So when that happens, then what they do is they will add the points together. So for argument's sake, if the one caption is black executive directors as a % of all executive directors, and black women executive directors as a % of all executive directors. So the next 3 points, which is then allocated to other executive management, and then the woman executive, other executive management women, then the 2 points on top for black executive directors will become 4, and the black women executive directors will become 2. So you do have, and there's nothing wrong with that. And why I say that is that the next category we're going to move to is senior management, middle management, and junior management. So some companies prefer that if we're the shareholders or the executive management, then we want to make all the decisions in the company. And we only expect a senior manager to do his job, provide the board with recommendations, but not fulfill the role of anything more than a senior manager. And then other companies, again, they might regard their chief financial officer, their human resources officer, their marketing officer, they might regard them as other executive management. So that's just a little bit of a difference that you can just understand that concept. Now, a very important aspect under this portion is that company policies must be written up to speak to the above or have a resolution where this is recorded. Secondly, and this is one of the key factors which I'll touch on later, and you'll understand why. The employment equity report and plan must reflect this. So what has happened in the past is that, or the current situation we also have, is that employment equity reporting is constantly showing that the affirmative action measures which are in place are not actually being followed through. And this is where this scorecard makes it very important for any business to actually have a proper employment equity plan and they have to do yearly reporting. So because we're dealing with a generic company, we're kind of saying that they would be a designated employer which employs more than 50 people, or their turnover is above the threshold for their industry, so they have to do it. Now, going forward, the government is looking at an employment equity compliance certificate. So government has now established, but in this economy of ours, people are not reporting correctly. They are changing things to suit the BE scorecard, but it doesn't agree with the employment equity report they're handing in. And those kind of situations arise. So this is where government is trying to put a stop to this so that real transformation can take place. And that is why it's saddening in BE that the objectives that are in this BE scorecard, if this was just adhered to, then we would have actually seen a lot of gain already, and not the slow pace that we're currently experiencing. So this is just a tip: plan to fail or fail to plan. BBEE is a comprehensive summary of government protocol in achieving an inclusive economy for previously marginalized persons or companies. The big but: the scale of cost increases over the next few years will result in the 100% BBEE owned company reaching the 50 million threshold quicker. So just a word to participants who are also in their businesses now. Now, why I say cost, just as a result of the COVID factors and business prior to that, costs are constantly increasing, which means that services now are becoming more expensive, but you as a Black business, you're going to reach the 50 million target quicker as a result of all the expenses that are in the economy. So it doesn't mean that this aspects of Black executive management and those things are just meant for the 75-25 business. It's also the 100% Black-owned business must also look at these aspects and make sure that they remain compliant. Because what in practice happens is that a lot of Black business employs a lot of white people. So while they're under 50 million, it's not a problem. But the moment you go above 50 million, then suddenly all the white staff will become a problem. So one of the strategies against that is to look at implementing a BBEE strategy, never mind how small your business is at the moment. And I just put in a projected figure here of start that process at 10 million. So that the aims of government in terms of BEE is to get as many Black people into the economy as possible. And if we that have Black business are not going to do the same, then the words broad-based Black economic empowerment, we must not see ourselves as separate from that word, because if we say we are Black, are we only for ourselves, or are we for our fellow Black? And that is where BEE is not a white against Black, Black against white thing, but we have to look at it as the BMF has stated in the opening, to get to that inclusive economy. But there has to be a redress. And as I say, we've been struggling for the last 20 years to get that redress quicker. But these are the mechanisms, the few mechanisms that I'm giving, is that get yourself a good BEE strategy, because that will simplify what you need to do in your business to achieve constant growth. Okay, now, Nonku, we can move down to the senior, junior, and middle management.
Okay, I'm already on senior management, sir.
Okay, you can highlight the senior, middle, and junior.
Okay.
So if we look at the target of senior management, middle management, and junior management. Now, on senior management, we have 60%. On middle management, we have 75%. And on junior management, we have 88%. So the target looks like senior management is less important versus junior as example. The reality is that progress is expected through BBBEE policy to do the following. Year 1, 88% in junior management. So that person that is starting off in junior management over at least a 3-year period must be able to go up to middle management. And let's say in another 2 years' time, go up to senior management. Now, this is a little bit hypothetical, but believable to explain the target. A BBBEE target must never be seen as a final number. This adds to defeating the objective. So when in BE, we only focus on reaching that target, that is not the route we want to take, and that is not the route we want to encourage any business to take. But what we want to say is the graduate that starts off as a junior manager today, within 3 to 5 years, he has to reach that senior management position. So every year, if we were to take, if every business in South Africa as an example, were just to take 2 people into junior management every year and renew them as they grow, then this is how we will actually eradicate not having black persons in the different management levels of the economy that we require. Okay. Okay, then Nonku, let's just move down to the last one. Just highlight disabled employees. Okay, so when we started off under ownership, there was a black designated group, and disabled persons were part of that black designated group. So what government is now asking a business that is a generic enterprise, he's saying that 2% of your workforce must be made up of black disabled employees. So the whole concept of getting the marginalized into the mainstream economy, this is what is intended here. So the inclusivity principle is applied here and encourage business to provide persons an opportunity to become part of the economic active population. And we understand that we have 44% unemployment at the moment, but we still have to look at the concept and the reasoning behind the concept. So the more we provide opportunity, and especially to persons with disability, that is the intention of government through this BEE scorecard. It's been there all the time, but it's two points that have in many cases never been actually attended to. So that's the end of employment of management control. So we open up for any questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sean.
Pleasure.
On the Q&A, we've got a comment and a question from Melili. Lily is our deputy chairperson. The one comment that she had for us was on women participation. To say the scorecard encourages women to participate. However, we still have such small representation on the board for women. I'm sure you'll maybe have something to say to that. And then the question that she had is the reporting period for the EE report maybe contributing to the misalignment with the triple BE scorecard? Because I think earlier you were saying that BE scorecards, they're reporting so well, but when you look at the employment equity reports, there's a mismatch. So I think she's delving further as to say, why do you think that mismatch exists in your own opinion?
All right. Yeah, the mismatch, when some people look at BE, then they look at, listen, how can we get out of this mess and what can we do? Now, your employment equity period doesn't necessarily fall within the verification period. So let's say the financial year that is being looked at will work from 1 March till end of Feb the following year. So that's the financial. And I think it's a good question that has come up now, because I just want to add that ownership and management control, those are done at the date of measurement. So what happens is the employment equity report was from January till December of the previous year, which means that if your financial year was March to Feb, you had a certain number of staff that were moving in that period. And then if we say management control and ownership is evaluated on the date of measurement. So what that implies is that if you now in August the following year have your audit, then the previous employment equity report that the verification agency is looking at versus the actual at the date of audit will now be much different. So at the end of the day, when the company must explain something to the verification agency, that kind of leaves, because it's a broad period, that actually gives leadway to not seeing that, actually there hasn't been that much change, or we had 3 women in let's say board participation according to the employment equity report, and now when we come to the on-site visit on the date of measurement, we find there's only 1. So it's actual, and then BE says what is actual on the day, that will override. But if you as the analyst say, but wait a minute, I'd like to question the situation here, then the company will answer. So to get back to a point, what we need alignment on is that we need to say, are we going to look at the last 6 months? What changes have taken place in the last 6 months? Because remember now, some people who want to get a good score, they will shift people around before the audit. And especially I don't want to say especially, but you have big companies, you have 300 workforce, you have 20 senior managers and that. So at the end of the day, if you shift them out to another business that you have in the group, then your points go up, and then 3-4 months later you bring them back onto the scorecard again. So that's a difficulty, but that's not the one that, unfortunately, what we're looking at now is that when the employment equity certificate is issued, that is going to have a greater impact than the current situation we have. So it's a very good measure for government to bring that in, because now your employment equity plan will be scrutinized a little bit more to see if that aligns with the objectives of the 5-year plan. And BE at the moment does not look at the 5-year plan and say, when it comes to evaluate, it's only looking at date of measurement and what was the last report that you handed in. So I hope that covers that one.
Thank you, Sean. That was very in-depth. On the matter of why do we still have so few female executives on boards, even though the codes sort of encourage Black female participation at the board level?
Yes, so I'm not going to, how can I say, I don't want to make this soft, but
Okay.
but what we need to look at is when companies in South Africa, and it's unfortunately a general concern that exists, irrespective if you're marginalized, we need a specific policy from government which could contribute to, unfortunately, forcing some companies into saying that when we have a graduate female, they have to get a priority and in that business, but a program of action must be implemented so that within 3 to 5 years, they could see the growth. Because a lot of women are capable, there's no doubt they can stand their ground, but your male counterpart, unfortunately, whether he's white or Black, has that sentiment of, the threatened, I'm still threatened by a woman. And that is something that needs to be worked on in the South African environment. But the scorecard, let's say they would change it now to say 50% female. There is unfortunately still going to be resistance to that. And for me, the employment equity report or certificate is going to add more weight to get companies to comply within their 5-year plan. And that's unfortunately a lack on government side, that they can't actually check up on a lot of companies and regularly visit them to make sure that the context of what they claimed on their employment equity report is actually being put into practice. And I think that would actually solve a lot of where the objective of getting females into business is going to add value in the long run.
Thank you. We're having a similar debate and within BMF. So thank you for that. And I think we are aligned on our thoughts. Sebeti, do you want to add anything to the discussion?
Okay, I think it's just a few points. Maybe, Sean, I won't allow you to just rush away from that. Maybe the principle is, why is it difficult to regulate the mining charter? Maybe you must explain that the mistake we did as a country, we promulgated it under the mining, the Petroleum and Mineral Resources Act. It is not under the BEE Act. Because normally for other sector codes, when there is no sector code, they must then fall back to this DTI. Maybe you must then explain that intricacy to say, why is it becoming a bit of a challenge? And why maybe that principle of us empowered is always there. So maybe it's the issue of the minister letting it go and putting it under the DTI for it to be more effective and streamlined like all other sector codes. So maybe you can have a comment on that. But I think for my part, what Melile raised is very critical and forms part of our work at BMF. The scorecard is clear that we're looking at 50% participation. When we speak with these companies, we need to start there. That should be the discussion we have with them. The second part is the issue around employment equity plans. To say, there's 5-year plans, there's annual reports every year. We always need to be able to tie companies to their 5-year plans. We know that these things can always be manipulated, and which raised me to the last issue I wanted to raise of verification agencies, especially on these two, ownership as well as management control, which are done at the date of verification. This is where you find a lot of rearrangement happens. The second part is also, you can see that 88%, 75% targets. We need to also look at pay parity between the whites and the black people. So you can have black people says, yeah, senior management, only to find the salaries that of a junior management guy. But he's just put there so that they can get points on senior management. So these are things that we need to be able to look at and interrogate around reports that these companies are producing.
Yes, Mr. Betsy, if I can just answer you on the last point that you made there. Look, the law is now clear in terms of equal work for equal pay. So it doesn't fit into your example, but just to understand that is a principle that must be applied. And one of the fronting points in that points to fronting is exactly that point that you've mentioned now, is that when there is a disparity, so why I'm saying equal pay for equal work, so if we have a black employee and a white employee that is doing similar jobs, but the white employee is earning far more than the black employee, then that would be classified as a fronting aspect. So if that is picked up through the verification agency or through their verification, then they will request of the company to explain what is the situation. So let's say there is an example where the white person has maybe got 10 years experience and the black person's got 5 years experience, but 3 years ago the black person was appointed and they were all on a similar level. But because this guy's now got 10 years, he's got 5 years more experience, that is actually why he's earning more. So there are certain motivations, but like you say, through that employment equity and through those discussions, that should be the basis of where you begin from, so that you can get that information, because that's the information that must be checked on that level, and that will assist where your BMF needs to come in. So yeah, on the mining charter, why they're not with the DTI? We actually speaking about not million transactions, we're speaking about billion transactions. You also have the Competition Commission that must come in when transactions are over a certain amount, then that act also comes in. So on the mining charter side, they've had a lot of flack from the producers of gold and platinum, and that is why they thought it would be best for them to keep everything separate in the mining sphere. Because if we just take the example in the generic charter, where we speak about the 8 points and net equity having to be a minimum of 3.2 per year that the verification is done. If you look at a transaction that a black company enters into with a mining house, then you are talking maybe 500 million, 800 million to purchase that share. And their stuff is based on the foreign exchange ruling at the time. So a negative rand is good for them. and if the rand is better, then obviously their profits are down, and they have to repay this money in a certain way. So because the mining, the way I see it, and this is my opinion, is that the mining has placed so much pressure on the Department of Mineral and Energy Affairs to actually write the mining charter the way they want it. And that is why I say the difficulty that I have with the Mineral and Energy Department is that they can't answer a simple question I gave them, because they can see where that question is going to. And when this case came up, and I spoke to somebody the other day, and he sent me the final judgment. So I said, no, all right, I'll go through it. But the aims and objectives is really something that the BMF can sit down with and can write a proposal to them to say, but listen, you haven't looked at this, you haven't looked at that, or these things need to improve to obviously give us more participation. So just shortly, what I've seen is that we actually don't own the minerals in this country as black business or as citizens of South Africa. There are a few black-owned who can say they are black mining houses or they own, but 90, I would just put the figure out there: 90% of South Africa's gold and diamonds and all those things, they don't belong to us. So we've got a lot of work to do to reclaim or to get more involvement. And please, let's move on to the next one, because we're not going to solve that one in this session.
Thank you for covering that. The next one is from Mahaje, who's part of the program in the Free State, and she's asking, what reading material would you recommend for somebody who wants to know more or understand triple BE? She says that you did mention the Companies Act, the King Report. What else would you recommend as reading material?
You have to go to Act 53 2003 46 for your BE. That I can always send it later. But what I've put on here is just the definitions. I haven't put on the DTI charter, but you have to read through the whole thing, and then you have a better concept. But for all intents and purposes, read the definitions on this, and that will already give you a better understanding. And then luckily you can speak to a consultant like me, and I can help you out with what you need to know, with where you would like to go with it, because having the knowledge is always good. And then, you know, I'm open for questions and things like that going forward. But that's what I do. I do a lot of research. I do cases and things that I research and look at, and that is what enhances. And then also you have to work from the basis of, you want all South Africans to achieve a greater height in our environment. And my main thing is, let's build the GDP. So when we put heads together in sessions like these, then this is all part of what will contribute to improving our economy. Yeah, so now you can give them my email address and we can chat from there.
Okay, I will make sure I add it to the chat list. The next question is not really for you, because this session is not to answer any specific dynamics. It was more on an introduction on basic principles, elements, the intention and the requirements of the BEE. But yeah, so can I pass this question over to our chairperson? Ndatim Sebetsa, I see your hand is still up, but if you can take this question. It's from Moloko Malibacha. And the question is, what is your view, what is our view on the comments by Rob Hessoff? And that's the business magnet where the videos are going around.
I saw
and it's
that.
very critical. You saw it, okay?
Yes.
So basically, it's saying that BE is a hindrance to investment in the country. So maybe you take it that because it's not part of what Sean will cover.
But I think maybe to assist is that, why would Hersoff say that? It's because the new amendment sector codes, like the one we're looking at, if you saw what it's saying on management control, what it's saying on net equity. Remember in the past when they did all these things, they wanted to corrupt the whole BEE. There's nowhere in the legislation where it says choose a black partner. So if it says BEE benefits ANC people, it's because white business decided to give BEE deals to ANC people for political protection. And they never understood that those politicians will be out of power. You see, now it's the same thing with once empowered, always empowered. They want to maintain that because then they realize now we need to make a new set of transactions with black people. But in a nutshell, the issue is look at management control. 50% of directors must be black. 75% of senior managers must be, middle management must be black. 88 must be. Then they realize there's no room for their kids. Now, because all our people don't really understand what BE is saying, they are hoping to convince everyone that it is not working. And I think after we've done this session, we'd all begin to see how all of us have actually benefited from BE. And if it wasn't there, there was no way white people would have allowed us to occupy any form of economic activity, let alone even higher education and training. So I think this is where we are at. And once we as BMF said, let's do these sessions, let's get our people to thoroughly understand what BE is about and how it serves to benefit us. And then let's go back to business and says, we're not going to move away on this thing. Why? Because it is there to benefit us fully. You might have chosen ANC people, but there's no way in the law that says you had to choose ANC politicians to be part of your BE deals. You decided that as white business. I think that's in short.
Very direct. Thank you, Chairperson. Sean, I don't know how much time how much you still need to go through. We are now at almost 7:30, so I think we should continue. Do you still have a lot to go through?
All right, yes. All right, let's continue. So just a very important factor that ties in with going down to the skills development next and being in just handle management control. Now, demographics is not included on the scorecard, but just that you're aware, you have South Africa and the provinces and also race and gender within the definition of black as defined in the BE codes. Okay, so it's African, Indian, and colored, and equals also male and female for each category. So when we move to skills now, if your business, for argument's sake, is only working from the Free State, then the demographics of the Free State will be applicable for your business. If you have 3 or 4 branches, or most of your work, you settled in the Free State, but most of your work is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal, it's taking place in Western Cape, it's taking place in Gqeberha, then you're more on the South African demographic. So the importance of demographic is to understand that they've also made an allocation, although they say they want 88% junior management. What they're actually saying is that out of that 88% target, if you're in the Free State, then for argument's sake, we want 88% black male, 88% black female, and then the rest is made up of Indian and colored, male and female for the other 12% as example. So although you have 90% black in the Free State at that establishment, you might not get the 1 point because the 88% is actually broken up into that demographic percentages. So just keep that in mind as a principle to also concentrate on when you are working on this on your BE strategy. All right, Nonko, now we move down to skills development. I'm going to run through a little bit quicker, everyone, but you're not going to lose the impact, but we don't want to lose you as participants. Okay. Have you got? Let me just clear this thing. All right. Now, learning program expenditure. Now, once again, coming back to a lot of what Mtsebesi has said and the questions that have already come out. what government has done with the change of the scorecard and the criteria. Government said, wait a minute, I have 44% unemployment. So he is now encouraging, government is encouraging companies to spend on black people. So he's saying that I'm allocating 6 points to you, and the next caption there is expenditure on bursaries for black people. So that means the company is not restricted to only its employees. Many companies have very busy programs where employees can't be on training all the time. They have to fulfill the function. So now government has opened it up and said, there's 10 points for you, but you are welcome to spend it on people that do not have, or they're not employed by you, but I will still give you points for that. So very important under skills. And this ties in with what we said in terms of the employment equity report. So your annual training report, your work skills plan, that must be handed in. You've got to have your employment, your EMP 201s for 12 months, your SDL membership confirmation with relevant CETA. So those are key aspects, because SARS receives your pay as you earn, your UIF and your SDL, but you have to indicate in which industry you are, that your SDL money goes to the correct CETA, and then you as a company has to register with that CETA. Now, for any company that is not a generic company, but your salary bill is above 500,000 threshold, then you must register for skills development levy, and then on a yearly basis you're going to have to do your skills development report and your work skills plan. So although it's big business that is targeted here, that will not score any points if they don't have those plans in place, a business with a salary expenditure of 500,000 must also comply. So I hope that helps a few companies who are listed, who are with us today. Now, your SDL contribution, if you hand in your report, I think the CETA gives you back, or the Department of Labor gives you back 20% of your 1% company allocation. So just for handing in the report, whatever you've contributed on skills development levy on the company portion, you will already get 20% back. Then you can also access funding for learnerships in your organization, and each CETA will say to you, December, I'm issuing, they put out a tender, or let's call it the tender, and you apply for those funds. And that could also assist your training program that you need to implement. So I've just made a caption here. For the future, I see the employment equity first and the skills following thereafter in terms of compliance. Because if you look at the percentages and the things that we're looking at here, then this is the proper way to address the shortcomings in our economy. So if black people can get 2.5% of a company spend for bursaries, then we're solving a lot of problems. If the 3.5% expenditure on learning programs can be spent. Now, something that is extremely important is the calculation for this expenditure. So let me just get that one there. Yeah. So you take your SDL amount for the year, you multiply that by 100, then that becomes your leviable amount. And then you multiply your 3.5% and your 2.5%, and you get the amount that needs to be spent for the purposes of getting those 10 points. Now, a lot of companies will say to you, gee, 6% is a lot of money. But government says, and highlight, Nonku, the next one, which is learnerships, apprenticeships, and internships. Right. Now, immediately government gives you another 6 points, because on this specific one, he's saying to you, the number of Black people participating in learnerships, apprenticeships, and internships. So what is government saying to us? Government is saying, here's 6 points, spend 3.5% of your leveragable amount on learning programs for Black people, spend 2.5% on bursaries, and then he's saying, I'll give you 6 points if 5% of those people that you've empowered, if they form part of learnerships, because learnerships on average, it's going to take 12 months, it might even take 24 months. Apprenticeships the same, and internships are similar. So government is saying, guys, I want you to assist us in sustainable development of work, of human capital. So now suddenly scoring 6 points doesn't actually cost you money, because you've already done it under the expenditure on learning programs for Black people. So a lot of people say it's not achievable. BE is a bunch of wah. But if you really go in and investigate it from a principle perspective and a concept, then you will see that it's actually not that difficult. Now, if you look at the last one, Nonku, you can just highlight that learners absorbed. So here government is giving you 5 points. He's giving you 5 points. And what government is saying to you is that if there were 10 people in your learnerships, in your apprenticeships, in your internships, then appoint those 10 people in a permanent position as part of your company, and I'll give you 5 points. And if you say to me, I can't afford appointing all 10 people, and you appoint 5, then at least you're getting half the points. But the concept that government is trying to get across here is that if we have somebody in training through a company for 12 months and we absorb them into the economic active population, that is how we are going to solve this problem of unemployment and going forward. So the amount looks big, but you're actually getting credit, like on a learnership. If this person is costing you 3,000 Rand a month, then that 3,000 forms part of that 3.5% or that 2.5% that you're spending. So there's very good ways to do it, but this should form part of the BE strategy. But I want all the recipients today to understand that government is not trying to knock you over or to ruin your business or something to that effect. He's actually trying to say to you that if you don't understand the term BE, because BE is an incorrect term. You have to understand the triple BEE, which speaks about broad-based Black economic empowerment. So government is saying everyone, whether you're white, black, pink, or yellow, concentrate on broad-based improvement of the environment. So I think let's leave it at that, and then we can take some questions.
We don't have questions at this stage. Sure.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
but Lily does agree that if we just implement the learning programs, we will solve a lot of our youth employment issues.
Yes, definitely. That is
Yeah.
most definitely. Let's shift down to preferential procurement.
Okay.
Now this section, it's preferential procurement, supplier development, and enterprise development. So those three aspects form part. They're three, but you must see them as one. And why I say 1, because if you miss out the 40% minimum target in each of these, then you will also drop a level. And I just neglected to say under skills development, if you miss out on skills development, meeting that 40% target, then you will also drop a level. So let's handle the first part, and preferential procurement has got, I think we're looking at 6 aspects. Just scroll down here. Yeah, there are 6 aspects. The very first one is the BE procurement spend with empowering suppliers. The target there is 80%. 80% really sounds mega, all right? Then I want you quickly to go down to the BE procurement spend with empowering suppliers, minimum 51% blackout. Now that's 11 points. So if you're planning a strategy, then that would be one of the first things that you're looking at. But what is government saying to us through this process? What government is saying to us is that the more business we do with 51% minimum black-owned companies, the better for our score. But on the flip side of that, our economy, in terms of the marginalized businesses, they are now going to improve because they'll be getting a bigger share of the procurement spend of a company. So the other flip side is the 51% black owned, the white, let's refer to it as white. So the white portion of 49% is not reverse apartheid, because you're getting a status of level 2 as a result of your 51% black ownership. So if the white man owns 49% of the company, he's getting 49% of the profit. So we're not reversing or doing apartheid in a different way. We're actually improving the environment, because now we're working with a white counterpart to achieve economic emancipation. And that's why I say the principles of what BE has got, of triple BE, what it's got in its system, if we follow these things, then we'll definitely get to where we need to be. Now, what I advise clients is that if you have these 6 components, but you have a supplier that meets all those requirements, then it will either be an EME or QSE, that is the one that you'll miss one of them, but one BE certificate will count towards the 80% target, which is the 5 points, will count towards the 4 points under EME, the 15%, will count towards the 50%, 51% black owned. And if it's women empowered with a minimum of 30% black women owned, it will cover the 12%. And if the person is part of the designated group, then it will also contribute to the 2%. So how companies look to buy from people outside is where they need to look at that strategy. But from government side, there's nothing untoward in terms of the targets that would make it difficult for any business or any white-owned business to actually conduct his business with another black participant. So that's all I'm going to say under that one. Then supplier development. Now,
sorry, Sean, before we carry on, on supplier development, just taking you back on the skills development, Sipho was saying on the aspect of learning program expenditure, what measures are put to ensure that indeed the beneficiaries are the black and disadvantaged population? Because he says in this view, a company can pay for a training program for all employees.
Well, your ID your invoice and your certificate. That is the criteria to earn points on that. So yes, a company would be training all its employees, but for BE purposes, it will be those who meet the definition, and then they have to provide a proper documentation to confirm the spend on a person.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay.
All right, so supply development, I'm going to do supply development and enterprise development together. Now, the criteria here, a supply development implies that this person is on your database. So company A will have a minimum 51% black-owned company on its database and engages with that company. They have a meeting. They will say, these are aspects that need attention. This we can help you with, and they might give you accommodation at the shop or wherever they are. They might assist you with finance. They you know, there's so many things they can do. They can give you one-on-one training. They can provide you with legal advice. There's a lot of things that they can do for the supply development. But supply development is for somebody that is on the company's database. Now, what government says, he says, you know what? I don't just want to limit the assistance to somebody that's on your database. So he says, but now he calls it enterprise development. So what he says is, can't you find an enterprise that's not on your database? Like, let's say, for argument's sake, we have a lady she supplies every morning. She's making lekker vet koek and things, and she's got her business outside. So she's not on your database, but she's actually supplying your workforce with food every day. So why not empower her? So she's then not on your database, but she's also an enterprise. So the same thing here. You look at her needs. You see what you can do to assist. And this is why government is saying, I want to try and include in my BE principle so many different aspects, but making it easier for a company to recruit such an entity. Now, if we just go one step down after that, there are two aspects where government says, listen, I'll even give you a full bonus point for graduation and a full bonus point for job creation. So let's say, as a result of the support of the company to the enterprise development beneficiary, the lady's business now suddenly booms because the office is buying more from her, and she employs 2 extra helpers to assist her. So that means she's created or they've created 1 or more jobs as a result of the supply development, or in this case now, for the example, the enterprise development initiative. So there's one point. And now we say, but you know what, this lady has been supplying us with good quality food. Can't we get her to come and make food for the company? On certain days, she has to come in, she has to make food for the company. So now she goes from enterprise to supplier. So there's another bonus point. So what government is saying is, when this financial year is finished, you've received for this enterprise development entity, you've received the bonus points. So next financial year, go and look for a new enterprise development beneficiary. And this is how you continue the process. And it's part of, I think most of us will be aware of the paying it forward principle. So this is where government is saying, if we have businesses that work towards growing the economy and growing persons in the economy, then that is how we're going to strengthen our GDP going forward. So that's under procurement. And the last one we left with is social economic development contributions. So, but let's take any questions that we have under procurement. Nonku?
Yes, Sean?
I
You
say
want us
let's-
to?
Yeah, let's take any questions under procurement.
Okay, we don't have questions as yet. I was just checking the chat and see, but there's no questions on procurement at this stage.
Menonku,
And yes, Chair.
maybe for the benefit of other colleagues, Sean, if you could explain the percentage split on net profit after tax for contributions on enterprise development, and equally maybe the supplier development on saying the 10% revenue of the company is what they must spend on companies that are under their supplier development program.
Yes, yes. So under supplier development and under enterprise development, the criteria is for supplier development, it's 2% of your net profit after tax, and then 1% of net profit after tax. So if you obviously add the two together, it becomes 3% of your net profit after tax. So what you must keep in mind is that there is what we call an industry norm. So if you in the DTI, you in the general, because there's 150 different types of businesses that fall under the DTI. So Stats SA will say for let's say miscellaneous industries, the industry norm is 1%. All right. So under DTI, they would work on a 25% of the industry norm as a target. So there are companies who sometimes experience a net profit after tax which is negative, and then it's about how do they go about the calculation on what they should spend. So there's a specific manner in which that is calculated, and then you will get the spend that you have to do. But what I want to say is the spend. Some people will look at the spend. Let's say they had a good year and they have to spend $1 million, and they say, "Gee whiz, there's no way I'm spending $1 million." But there's a lot of ways that you could spend a lot less in terms of cash, but still achieve the objective. And one of the main objectives of government is to say that out of the 10 points, you can actually score, I think they're limited to 1.5 points that you can score under supply development contributions, but through paying that supply development beneficiary within 15 days of invoice. So if you pay on day 0, then if you pay 10,000 Rand, you'd get 15% of that as a credit towards the spend on supply development. So there's a little bit of intricacy there, but the basis would be 3% of net profit after tax for that supplier and enterprise development. So that's another initiative of government to say that if your company is doing well and you have that profit, then involve other persons or other businesses to improve their status and their stature going forward. And they also look at a minimum of a three-year contract, just to make sure that you don't just bring the guy in to score the points on BE, but you actually walk the road with him and go through the hardships and assist him with your company knowledge, expertise, and things like that. And I, as a consultant, for argument's sake, I was sometimes appointed to assist such an entity, and that also helps them a lot with the way they have to run their company. So in short, that's what that 3% net profit after tax equates to.
Thank you, Sean. That helps. So our empowered companies can then negotiate different terms when doing business, and
Yes.
and tell companies, if you pay me within 7 days or 15 days, these are the benefits, please, and negotiate different terms or commercials with companies that they do business with.
That's all possible. That's all possible.
Because the company benefits.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. And remember now, when you're marketing from a company point of view, you don't always have to spend a major amount on marketing material. But if you invest in a supply development program and in an enterprise development program, those people and those businesses you're investing into are going to become the sellers to your community and to other persons. So the word of mouth will go on that, listen, I'm involved in this program with this company, you know,
Right.
and this is how they're assisting me. And that is what a lot of companies miss, is that they will rather spend a lot of money on marketing, but they won't actually empower the supply development program, which has a lot more benefit and could carry them through. Because international companies, when they look at who they want to finance and who they want to assist and all these things, then that is something that on a company CV actually stands out. And this is why what we need to look at is that the 25% black shareholder who's a BMF member, who's in the concept, those are the persons that need to be trained so that they can drive those policies from the top to actually achieve much more than just for them being in the position. So that's one of the things that we actually need more involvement from the 25% as a minimum shareholder to actually assist in this regard.
Right. Understood. Makaja had a question on the training or development programs. She said, is there any specific template or a way that they should be run? How do we know what's effective? Could you take people on a day course and would that be effective? Is it 3 months? Is it? Okay.
That specific one that you're speaking about now. Now this is where I think let's go into this and then that will half answer that question. But remember, the basis we're looking at, as far as possible in any form of training, it's either a short course, a course that produces a certificate. We have adult basic education training, which is a big portion of what can be done. And then we have our social economic development. Now social economic development, the whole scorecard up to now is speaking about economic participation and how do we become more inclusive in the economy. So when we come to social economic development contributions, we have to distinguish between what is corporate social investment and what is social economic development. Now, the BE, the Triple BE Commission has issued a few notes on this aspect, because what they're saying is that, and the example that I'm using here is that if I buy sanitizer for a school, or if I paint a school room, if I provide a food parcel, does that classify as social economic development? So those examples don't actually meet the social economic development definition. But if I were to say, I'm going to establish a library, I'm going to establish a food garden, I'm going to invite 20 people out of the community to come and attend an entrepreneurial workshop that will be taking place over the next 4 weeks. Now, that is more the social economic development that is referred to in the definition of social economic development. So when skills and social economic development, when the two of them meet, and this is where, let's say for argument's sake, your bursary expenditure, you've already made the bursary expenditure, but you still have a few rand left, then that person that you're sponsoring for, let's say, school fees can count as social economic development, because when that child eventually comes through the system and through that assistance, will actually achieve the matric certificate and will then go on to university. That is also social economic development. So skills, depending on if it's a short course, then there's a category F that we speak about, but how can I say, not the full spend on category F is recognized. So that is something that could fall under social economic development. But yeah, the basis of social economic development, understand it as government saying, I don't want you to give a handout of something that will help for today. I'm looking for a program where my people in the community can become skilled, or they can become economically active through the action. So if I'm somebody that manufactures t-shirts and sews and zips and all those things, and I go to the community and I get 5 ladies that I can now donate an imbecile to and say, right, here you go, and here's material for you, start your own t-shirt business. That is social economic development. So the easy thing on the 28th of Feb, you wake up, you say, hey, I have to spend some money quickly. Where can I quickly go? Let me go to my nearest shopping center, buy a lot of food stuff and drop it off at this place. That's not social economic development. So there is a move towards saying we have to look at what is social economic development, and the commission is saying that, guys, don't just spend your money and come and claim the points. We actually want to show us where the social economic development is. So I trust I've answered the one question, but the lady is welcome to ask another or let us redirect it.
No, I'm sure you've answered it. Thank you so much, Sean. I think we have 2 more to go through. I'm seeing the time and we almost finished. Are you able to just go quickly through the last 2?
The last 2, all right, let me see. I will do the next session free if everybody is happy with that, because the next session will actually be a 30-minute session, and I want people's attention span not to lose. If everybody is happy that we go ahead, let me see. Yeah, if you want to stay on for 30 minutes, I'll try and do it quicker than 30 minutes, but I don't like, if I rush through something, then we're going to miss the point. So I'd really like, the other 2 points they are important, but I don't know, guys, the attendees must say if they want to go for another half an hour max. Otherwise, we can do it on another day that suits everybody, and we can just have a 30-minute session.
Okay, is that the BE affidavits and that's what you want to cover?
Yeah, that's the affidavits and the different sectors and why there are sectors and things like that.
I think, Sean, let's proceed, colleagues. 30 minutes is critical on this matters because our whole program as the BMF sits on this. We need to respond to the attacks from AfriForum.
Okay.
Okay.
Nonku, can you open the QSE scorecard and the EME scorecard?
Okay. Let me get them for you. Okay, this one that you see now is
that one is fine. That one is fine.
Okay, and then the second one.
I would, but you won't be able to share both on your screen. So it's basically the same content, but I will just bring it under everyone's attention. What's the difference? So keep that one on your screen.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Okay, everyone. So the next concept we're going to speak about is the correct BE scorecard certificate affidavit. So that's the concept. Now, there are many ways or forms in the terminology and how it's applied in discussion with peers, etc. Because some people will refer to it as, I got a BE certificate. Somebody else will say, I've got an affidavit. And some will say, I've got a scorecard. So those are words that people use, but at the end of the day, there's only two things. There's only an affidavit or a SANAS certificate. Now, the SANAS certificate, if you have an affidavit, you will not have a SANAS logo on that. So anything else doesn't work. Now, your exempted micro enterprise sworn affidavit and your qualifying small enterprise affidavit is only applicable for businesses that are 51% minimum Black owned. So that's the only entities that can use an affidavit. If my 51% is white owned and I'm 49% Black owned, then I have to go through the full verification process and a SANAS certificate will be issued with their logo. But very important, the SANAS, it stands for South African National Accreditation System. So there are fake certificates in the system, or companies who pop up and they do a very good fake of a proper certificate. So what everyone must or look at is that if you're ever worried about something or you want to find out something, then you go to the SANAS website and you click on accredited organizations and you choose verification agency. Now, each accredited verification agency will have a specific number which must then correspond with that number on the certificate. So when I prepare a client's file, I have to go through all those SANAS certificates and make sure that they are from a verified agency. So that's the significance of that. So what is a BE scorecard? This refers to the number of points achieved in total. It's how did your company perform under each element. So what is a certificate? It is the same as the BE scorecard. The only difference, the certificate must have a SANAS logo. Then what is an affidavit? Government has introduced an affidavit for Black-owned business of 51% and above. This facilitates a cost saving for small and medium enterprises with a turnover threshold between 0 to 50 million. The affidavit is also referred to as a certificate or scorecard. So I've already mentioned the terminology I believe is correct, is that it's either an affidavit or a SANAS certificate. Right. Let me just get this right here. Explain that. Okay. I'm trying to rush it now, and I've messed up my notes a little bit here. Right. So BBBEE aims to develop and grow a 25% Black-owned business to at least a 51% Black-owned over a period of time. So what I want you to realize is that the aim, therefore, was 25% is the minimum to achieve under ownership, resulting in a SANAS certificate to ensure that all elements are checked by the agency. Now, unfortunately, SA business have been stuck at 25% and not progressed to increase the percentage to 51% over a number of years. The transformation of the economy is therefore stifled. So when the affidavit was introduced, the implication was that those who so choose this option saves the cost associated with adhering to all the elements. 51% controlling interest by Black business represents transformation objectives have been achieved. The rampant corruption under state capture with tender manipulation has skewed the actual intention of the BBBEE policy. So when your white business or your foreign business says, this BE thing, you've made it easy by giving 51% black owned the affidavit, that is not so. The 25% was there forever from the beginning of time. But the intention was grow the 25% to 51%. So the measure that government put in place was not trying to say he's going to make it easier now. All he was saying was that South African economy in the hands of monopoly white, unfortunately, you haven't played the game with us. So therefore, those who do have a 51-49 relationship, they are now going to be rewarded with an affidavit which saves them a considerable amount of money. So that was the intention there. Okay, we've done that, we've done that. Use this. Okay, now I'm most probably going to give you something that most of you will not know about, but very important if you are the user of an affidavit, whether it be an exempted micro enterprise or qualifying small enterprise. This is extremely important for your safety in business going forward. I will use February 21 as an example because this one is common to many. As business owner, you know that your turnover has been above 10 million for the financial year 1 March 20 to 28 Feb 21. The previous affidavit expires the 29th of September 21. But that affidavit, which was based on the March 19 to Feb 20 financials, was an EME affidavit. So the question becomes, was I correct to make the QSE affidavit on the 30th of September 21? Now, what I'd like everyone to do, and you can tell as many people as possible, check the BBBEE Commission website on a regular basis for updates, correspondence, etc. You will find a communication that makes the above scenario an unlawful action. It is required of the business owner to make the state or company aware of the changed BE status as a result of the turnover. Keep in mind, the level, ownership, percentage, etc. has remained the same, but the move from EME to QSE has now become a legal requirement. Therefore, the understanding applicable to an affidavit must not be taken lightly. Any technical questions you need guidance on, contact M. Ramari at the becommission.gov.za. No need to provide company name, just sketch the scenario. Explain a little bit about the role of the BE Commission. Okay, that's what I've actually done here. Now we're going to go on to the completion of the affidavit, which will not be long. So why I've stressed that example is that if an investigation is done into a tender or into any question that someone might have, and it's an unlawful situation, and your document is suddenly being checked, then this is what the BE Commission is saying. He's saying that when you became aware at the 28th of February 21 that your turnover for that financial year was now at 12 million and not the previous financial year that was at 9 million, then he is saying that at the 1st of March 21, you should have made out a QSE affidavit. So that's just a little technical, but you have to be aware of it. The moment you see your turnover going from either 9 million to above 10 million, or you're at 48 million and you're now going to 50 million and 1 rand, then you must be prepared and not make out an affidavit with the full knowledge that you know your turnover is above 50 million. Then you should have prepared your BE strategy already. So just keep that in mind. All right, Nonku, now we're going to run through. I think you must just go to the top. If you can just take your cursor and move it to the top.
Okay.
All right. So remember, I think most of us are familiar with an affidavit, and unfortunately, although we're familiar, the affidavit is not always completed correctly. Now, SANAS has indicated to a few verification agencies that it is not accepting incorrect affidavits, which means that when the company eventually comes to claim your spend on their procurement, then the certificate is disallowed for one of the reasons I will sketch to you. So very important is to regard this as a legal document. It's also within the BE Act where it says that if any misrepresentation takes place on the completion of this affidavit, and that's why you have to do it every 12 months, you have to only use one financial year for 12 months. So I'm running through that a little bit quickly. I would like to have spent more time on that one, but it's always, just keep in mind, your affidavit must have the latest information. It must never be outdated information. And your financial year, very important, but I'm going to get to that as we go down. So the part that's self-explanatory is your full name and surname, the identity number. Then you will take cognizance of point 1, which is the contents of the statement are, to the best of my knowledge, a true reflection of the facts. So you are saying that this is the facts. Now, the very next fact is the one that many people do not highlight on their affidavit. Now, I am a member. Now, a member is only found within a CC. So if you have a CC, you will not be a director. You can be a member or an owner. But for all intents and purposes, CC, they have a member. You might have one member, then you can say you're the owner. But if you are 2 members, then you're not the owner. So stick to member. The director will be chosen as soon as it's a PTY limited. That will be where director comes in. So owner, you might be self-employed, something to that effect, or you own the business 100%, then you are welcome to circle director and owner. It's not going to be an issue, but one of those must be circled by the person completing the affidavit. So now we'll go down to the enterprise name, and that automatically you fill in the trading name if applicable. So if you want somebody, like my business is BRT, NT, LEFT, Sales and Solutions, PTY Limited, but I'm trading as BE, right, not left. So that is the name that I will fill in there. Then your company registration number, complete everything as clear as possible so that anybody can see it, because why they want your registration number, if anybody has to check something, they can go to SIPC and they will work on that registration number. And if they find fault with it, they'll get back to you and say, listen, we've picked up a problem, whatever the case, but those details must be filled in and not scribbled in. Then your enterprise physical address, that's the business you are conducting your business from. And then the type of entity, so there you will choose one. You won't put in your business name again, you say PTY. Now the nature of business, on your registration documents, you sometimes find that companies have 3 or 4 different aspects in business. So some will do catering, some will do security, some will do construction, and you also have trading in all aspects. So what is important is your affidavit is speaking to the supplier, to the company that you would like to supply. So the nature of business, specify what your core business is. So if you feel the need to add more businesses, I'm not saying don't do that, but the nature of the business, stick to the core business. Now, at this point in time, I'd like you just to take cognizance of the fact that there are a lot of sector charters, and not everybody's affidavit works with a 10 million turnover. So you have to just understand that if you may use an affidavit, find out from that specific sector what affidavit is applicable in their sector. Like construction, for argument's sake, construction says if your turnover is under 3 million, then you can complete the affidavit. If your turnover is above 3 million, then you need a SANA certificate. So theirs is different from the DTI, which is now an exempted micro enterprise, is under 10 million turnover. So the following definition we have there is definition of black people and definition of black designated groups. So Nonku, let's proceed to the next page. Another one down. Yeah. So the explanations that were provided in the previous paragraphs, they are now going to be answered at point 3. So the enterprise in most cases will be 100% black owned. If there's female ownership, you will now specify the enterprise is 30% black female owned. And then the enterprise is based on the paragraphs above. If you fall in that category, now you have to say the enterprise is X% black designated group. And then you have to define in the breakdown, where do you fall in? Now, the black people living in rural areas, there's many a times I got people in Kuruman and Koppies and places like that. So they will say, but listen, we're living in a rural area. So when you're completing this document, rather speak to your local municipality and ask them if your area is classified as a rural area. That's a very important, because again, you are making the affidavit. So don't choose something and then it's not correct. So rather make sure the youth, the disabled, the unemployed, the military veterans, that I don't think would be a problem for anyone to sort out. Now we come to most probably almost the most important point on the affidavit. Based on the financial statements or management accounts and other information available on the latest financial year end. Now the BE Commission has just issued a thing on the use of management accounts. So that's not the favorite thing that they want you to use. But just to put it into context, when your financial year ends, and let's say we work on the general one of Feb 21. So your financial year is finished, but your accountant might take 6 months before he finalizes your financials. So based on what your knowledge as business owner or shareholder or director is, you will know according to your VAT 201s that your turnover has reached 9.5 million, but there's a few invoices that still haven't been done. But with your discussion with your team, including your accountant, you reach the conclusion that at 28th of Feb, you are still under 10 million turnover. Then you can draw a line through financial statements and leave management accounts. So the Companies Act, or they expect you 6 months after Feb to have your financial statements completed. So that's just a technical thing to know. Now we come to the most important point. A lot of people, when they complete and other information available on the latest financial year end. Now, this is where the legal stuff come in. You view the latest financial year end as 2021. What the BBBE Commission have told the verification agencies is that we want to know the specific month and year. We don't just want to know 2021. So from now on, please put in there the short form. It will be FEB 2021. And that's the one that will be on the certificate. Now, because they say the certificate is valid for 12 months. And remember now, whenever you are going to use a new certificate, you must withdraw the old one. So don't have a system where you're doing 20 tenders and you make out the new affidavit, but unfortunately you haven't told one of the ladies that are doing the tenders that you have a new certificate, and they still putting the old one in, although the old one is valid. Try not to make that mistake. Make sure that the day you sign this affidavit, the other one never gets used again. Only if somebody requests a copy for a certain reason, but that's a very important one there. Okay. The other one, the next portion there is self-explanatory. Just move a little bit down, Nonku. Yeah. So obviously, if you're less than 51% black owned, you're level 4, you tick that box. If you're 51%, you tick that box. And if you're 100% black owned, then you will tick that box. So at point 4, I know and understand the contents of this affidavit, and I have no objection to take the prescribed oath and consider the oath binding on my conscience and on the owners of the enterprise which I represent in this matter. Take that as a legal binding clause. I find a lot of companies, they have admin people who complete this document for them, and they basically just take the document to the police station and have it stamped. My advice to you is this affidavit, please take the time to do it yourself so that the correctness in completion can be certified by yourself. You don't want to sit with a situation where something was not completed correctly and you end up in a whole legal wrangle as a result of that. All right, so that finishes that portion. Any questions?
Yes, we have just 2 questions, but thank you for that. So we are finished now with the affidavits, and that's what you wanted to cover. Thank you for doing that in record time. Okay, we have 2 questions. And they're both from Mahaje. That she read somewhere that the verification agencies, that only 10% of the verification agencies for BE are black owned. And she's asking, is that a problem? So I'm not sure if that's a question you want to answer or Msebeti to answer.
I will answer it in this way. The process of becoming a verification agency, it's a very, I don't want to use it, I want to use the term laborious, but the impact of your policies, like the legal things that I work with, you've got people. There's somebody in the background. Must I wait? Okay.
No, I'm not sure why.
I don't know. It sounds like I'm hearing something, but all right, because it's not by me. But anyway, it's fine. the cost involved with setting and the processes that are applicable. Like, just to give you an example, you need to be certified by SANAS in each and every sector. So it doesn't mean if you are registered under the DTI to verify the DTI code, you still have to be verified under construction. You have to be verified under finance. You have to show them what your policies are, what your processes are. The POPI Act has brought in a few new aspects. So I must say that there is no restraint on who enters the verification market. So because there's 10% black-owned agencies, there was a move a few years ago where SANAS, I think it was SANAS that actually came up and said, we only want 51% black-owned agencies as a minimum, because this would be one of the good ways to kind of enforce participation and not have a white-owned company just doing something that is actually triple BEE, which should be more inclusive of black-owned entities. So I think they've moved away from that. I think that was just before the IRBA was taken away and back to SANAS. So it was in that period where verification agencies had to basically have or work towards a 51% black ownership, or they needed something like a minimum of a level 3. So yes, there is no limitation, and if more a black business wants to get involved in verification, everything is open. There's no restriction. But why there was also little, I can't say. I just know it's a costly process, and it's not the most profitable business to be.
Thank you very much. Her next question is on the affidavit that we went through. Mm-hmm. You spoke about black designated groups, and under there it's black unemployed. So the question that we have is, what does that? Please explain black unemployed in the designated group.
It says under definition A, unemployed black people not attending and not required by law to attend an educational institution and not awaiting admission to an educational institution. So let's say you've done your matric.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there's no need to attend anything after. You're not forced to have to finish anything, and you're not awaiting admission to a technical college or TVET or something to that effect. Then and you're not working. Then that would be more or less where you fall under as an unemployed black person. So it's a let's say it's a difficult one. It's something that a lot of people don't really make use of, but then that doesn't stop you from now going into business. So if you go in as a startup enterprise now for the first time, and that is your status, then you are unemployed. So if you open a business, you don't have any work yet, you don't have anything, then although you're the business owner, you're still not generating an income at that stage.
Okay, no, thank you so much. I think we've gone through the questions, and thank you, Sean, for your time. This was very informative and a lot, actually. I didn't realize how much time it would take and how we all didn't know enough on it. And thank you for the insights that you've given. I will now ask. Thank you, Sean. I will now ask Msebetsi to just join us to just say a few words. Msebetsi, are you still here?
Thank you, Mayor Nonku. I am sure colleagues would agree that this was a long session, but very critical. In our roles as business executives, as managers, as board members, we needed to know this information. You can see why majority of people will then say BE is failing. We need to ask how many of us really understand what BE was meant to achieve. And did it fail because the policy is not right? Or it's failing because we don't know how to implement it right? And with these few words, I would like to thank everyone who's participating. As part of this leadership in the BMF, we are going to run a program, this full series on BEE. And we are going to then look at the specific sector codes as we move forward. And it will tie up with our sector experts program, where we want amongst us as the Black managers to clearly say, we know that we've got good people in agriculture who understands what the transformation challenges are. In every other sector of our economy, we now need to have these executives and Black managers and professionals as well. So thank you very much, Menonku, for equally your contribution. And thanks, Ndate Sean Lakey, for being available. So you are just a phone call away when anyone needs assistance on BEE. And I would encourage members to work and to make use of your services. They are very much helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Have a good evening, everybody. Please, Ndate Sean's details are on the chat box. We will share an email again with his details for those who want to engage further. And thank you so much again, Dr. Sean, and thank you, Chairperson, for choosing me to facilitate this. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Nonku, if I may I just end off. I want to also personally thank everyone who has stood with us through this, and especially to Nonku and the team for the excellent arrangements and for having an awesome session. I was glad to be a contributor. And everyone, please enjoy your evening and just keep in mind, the GDP of the country is very important. With a higher GDP growth, we can shorten this unemployment and benefit for everyone. So let's work together and see how we can enhance this going forward. Thank you very much.